Hello, 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 and welcome back to another edition of Fan Talk, your favorite podcast by your favorite fan. That is, of course, me, Kyle Brenchley. We are back in the closet today on this very special Thursday. Welcome to Fan Talk. If you're new here, hello, welcome. This is a sports podcast by me, your friendly neighborhood fan. Hey, Brench, what's up? What's going on? This is a podcast you can find anywhere you get your podcast. I'm on YouTube as well because I like to do the video version. Still haven't got my studio set up quite yet, but we are using the space that we have currently, and it's just doing just fine. No Rogue One poster, no candles, although Andor Season 2 is, I think it's out now, actually. I think it was the 22nd of April, maybe. I don't know. Let me know if you guys seen it down below. No spoilers, please. I really liked Andor. I loved Season 1. I'm excited to watch Season 2. But it should be fun. All right, guys, today we're talking football. That is right, football in April, Kyle. Please tell me you're not going to be talking about the USFL. No, we're not talking USFL. We're talking NFL, National Football League. Today is Thursday, April 24th, and it is the NFL Draft. Round 1 will be happening tonight, round 2 and 3 tomorrow, and the other rounds on Saturday. Yeah, the NFL Draft is now a 3-day event. It's crazy. It's a whole big thing. We'll be talking all about that here today on Fan Talk. Thank you guys for joining. Sit back, relax. Please like, subscribe, leave comments down below, leave feedback on my links that I share down below. Let me know what you guys want to see. I love making videos, and I'm always looking for new ideas on what to talk about and what you guys are interested in, because frankly, I can just sit here and talk all I want, but if it doesn't interest you, then what does it do for me, right? Hearing my own voice. All right, NFL Draft. You might be wondering, Kyle, I understand what a draft is, but I don't know how it works in the NFL. Is it the same as the NBA? Is it the same as Major League Baseball? We'll be talking all about that. We'll be talking about how does the NFL Draft actually work, what it looks like, what to expect. I'll also maybe look at a few, maybe the top 10 picks or whatnot. I won't go through the entire draft round by round, but, the projected top 10, some players, the top players, where are they going to land? And by the end of it, you're going to know. You're going to be like, hey, boyfriend, hey, brother, hey, boss, I know about the NFL Draft, and I'm going to tell you all about it. You guys won't be dummies no more. You will be experts. So let's jump right in. So the NFL Draft, how does it work? Great question. Well, before we get into how it works, let's talk about when did it even start. Now, the first NFL Draft actually took place almost 90 years ago in February 1936, Philadelphia Hotel. The Eagles selected Heisman Trophy winner Jay Berwagner from the University of Chicago. 81 players were drafted, but only 24 actually went on to play in the NFL. Although back then, 90 years ago, 1936, the league was very different than it is obviously now. The Common Era, as they call it, or when the NFL and the AFL was the American Football League, they merged together in 1967, and that is kind of the beginning, some people say, as the NFL in today's world as we know it. So that's when it started. It started a long time ago. Who's eligible? Honestly, anybody who played college football, they must be at least 3 years removed from high school. So this is where it's a little different than the NBA. You look at the NBA and you look at Cooper Flagg. If you don't know who Cooper Flagg is, he's one of the best, if not the best, college basketball player. He played for Duke this season. He was a freshman, just played 1 year, and now he's declared for the NBA draft. In college basketball, you can just play one season and do a one-and-done season and then go into the NBA. So you're seeing like these 18, 19, 20-year-old kids going straight to the NBA after 1 year of college. That's not how it works in football. You have to be at least 3 years removed from high school. So in most cases, that means you're at least 21, and you have to have used up your college eligibility. So when you go play college football, you have to be eligible. There's a certain number of years, and that's a whole nother thing that we can get into the nitty-gritty at another time. But simply put, essentially, if you go to a 4-year school, you got to use up those 4 years of eligibility. You got to play college football for 4 years before you can declare for the NFL draft. There are some exceptions. You can, request an exception from the league from the NFL and get approval. But for the most part, and very simply put, you have to do your time in college before you can move on to the NFL. Although the draft is not only for collegiate players. Usually it's collegiate players because there's not really too many other opportunities to play competitive football if you're not playing in college. I guess theoretically you could be playing up in Canada or you could be playing overseas or you could, even be in the USFL and then get drafted into the NFL. But for the most part, it's college players. How is the draft order determined? Each team takes a turn. Number one team takes a turn, then number two, then number three. It's not a free-for-all, right? You have to take turns and you have to pick from a pool of players. So the draft order in the NFL is determined by how you finish the season. So if you're the worst team in the league, if you only won one game, if you won 2 games and finished with the worst record in the NFL last season, you will get the number 1 pick. And on the flip side, if you win the Super Bowl, then you get the 32nd pick, right? So this is just how the NFL does it. It's not like the NBA. The NBA does a lottery system where the bottom couple teams all have the same odds, and then they pretty much draw out of a hat who gets the first overall seed. That's very simply put. That's not a great description, but that's for another video, of course. But in the NFL, it's if you sucked, then you get the number 1 overall pick. If you won the Super Bowl, you get the 32nd pick. So that's kind of how that's determined. And yeah, it's pretty cool. This is just one more fun fact I'll share before we jump into kind of what the NFL draft will look like. But which teams have the most draft picks in 2025? You often find that, the draft is 7 rounds, and so teams have multiple picks throughout the draft. It's not just one pick. It's not that you just use your one pick and you're like, okay, I want this guy. You usually have multiple draft picks. But it varies year to year because you could trade draft picks. You could trade future draft picks. For example, if you have a really good quarterback and he's been with you for a long time, but you just want a new change, maybe you trade your quarterback away. Maybe he's getting older. Maybe he's not as good as he once was. You trade him away, and maybe you get a couple players, but also some future draft picks. Doesn't even have to be in this draft. Maybe you get some draft picks from 26, 27, 28, and beyond. So for this draft, 2025, it is interesting to see how many draft picks each team has. Some teams have upwards of 10. Actually, quite a few teams have at least 10 picks over 7 rounds. So, you could pick 10 players to add to your roster and give them the opportunity to play. A lot of teams are kind of in the 6 through 9 range. The team with the least amount of picks this year is the Minnesota Vikings. They only have 4 picks here in the 2025 draft. I bet they have a lot more in the future, but kind of interesting to see that the Vikings only have 4, but teams like the Buffalo Bills, Cleveland Browns, Dallas Cowboys all have 10. So that is quite a few players that will be coming into the draft for the teams, and it should be really interesting. Now, as for which players are going where, let's talk about that. All right. So some people are really into what they call mock drafts, which essentially is a simulated draft experience. So there's a lot of sports experts out there who are like, okay, these are the best players. This is where we think they will be drafted, what order, what team, what pick. And so they run what they call a mock draft, a simulation, a practice run per se, right? So I'm looking at a few here just from some experts right here on CBS Sports. And I think there's a lot of agreement in at least the top 3 picks. Kind of varies from there, but all these guys are saying that the Tennessee Titans, who got the number 1 pick, they went 3-14, really bad season for them last year. I think they were really trying to get this number 1 pick, but the Tennessee Titans will have the first overall pick, and they're projected to take Cam Ward, quarterback out of the University of Miami, Florida. Cam Ward, great quarterback, played very well for Miami this year, played at Washington State before that, was in the Heisman conversation, probably would have had a good shot if two-way player Travis Hunter wasn't around. But Cam Ward, great college quarterback, the top-rated quarterback here in the draft. They're saying Tennessee will probably take him, and I think that they should, because Tennessee haven't really had a real quarterback, a real good, reliable quarterback, I should say, for quite some time. They've kind of run with Will Levis, who they drafted a couple years ago, and they kind of had this Will Levis, Mason Rudolph, little Ryan Tannehill, in the last 5-6 years. And those guys are okay, but they're not franchise quarterbacks. And that's the thing about the NFL is, like, if you want to succeed, if you want to do well, you need a good quarterback. You need a great quarterback. You need an elite quarterback. You look at teams who are elite. You look at the Kansas City Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes, elite quarterback. You look at the Philadelphia Eagles, just won the Super Bowl, Jalen Hurts, elite quarterback. You look at the Baltimore Ravens, the Buffalo Bills, the Cincinnati Bengals, the Los Angeles Chargers. All these guys with Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Justin Herbert, Joe Burrow. These are elite quarterbacks. Now, these are teams that are doing really well. These are teams that are consistently in the playoff race. You need an elite quarterback. So Tennessee, no brainer. They're going to try to take Cam Ward, the best quarterback in the draft, and see if they can really flip their season, flip their franchise around. Number 2 overall pick goes to the Cleveland Browns. Now, the Cleveland Browns, they have Deshaun Watson. They have a quarterback that they've thrown a lot of money at, that they really want to do well. Deshaun Watson has been a good player in the past when he was with the Houston Texans, but with some injuries and some off-field allegations and some issues, he's kind of taken maybe 4 or 5 steps backwards. So they're really hoping, hey, hopefully he comes back. They're not looking to draft a quarterback. They're looking to take Travis Hunter out of Colorado. If you don't know who Travis Hunter is, he was in headlines. Obviously, he won the Heisman last year in college football, and the Heisman is like the best college player award for those who are unfamiliar with that. But he played on both the offensive and defensive side of the ball. Now, you see that a lot in Little League football and Pee Wee football and high school football. But once you get to the college level, and especially the NFL level, you usually pick a position and you stick with it. I don't know, maybe you see a tight end wide receiver hybrid, or like a running back that is a pass catching running back, or a receiver that gets a lot of sweeps or whatnot. But you don't really see a player play on the offense and the defensive side of the ball. And Travis Hunter did that at the University of Colorado. He played wide receiver as well as defensive back, the guys who guard the wide receivers. So he's looking to do that. He's looking to be a two-way player here in the NFL. First of its kind, really, at least in the modern era. He's looking to go second overall. Whether the Browns use him as a two-way player, or if they want him on defense or on offense or on special teams, whatever that is, the Browns, with the second overall pick, would be silly not to take Travis Hunter, because he's just a Swiss Army knife. He's a jack of all trades. He can do it all. Number 3 pick, the New York Giants. Again, they've kind of loaded up on their quarterback position with Russell Wilson, Jameis Winston. They've moved on from Daniel Jones. A lot of people were saying they'd probably draft a guy. They're a number 3 pick. There's not really that many good quarterbacks in this draft. There's Cam Ward, who's going to go number 1 overall, as he should deserve. But, I mean, there's Jackson Dart, there's Shedeur Sanders, there's Jalen Milroe, possibly Will Howard. There's just not as many solid, it's just not a strong quarterback class. The Giants looking to take Abdul Carter, of course, out of Penn State, played on the edge on the defensive side of the ball. Great tackler, great defensive guy. I love drafting defensive guys. I think if you want to survive in the NFL, of course, you have to have an elite quarterback, but you have to have a very strong defense as well as a good offensive line. I think those 3 things are probably the most important things that you need to have. Elite quarterback, strong offensive line, and a solid defense, right? Those are kind of the recipes for success, as you could say. So the Giants probably going to take Abdul Carter. Looking at these mock drafts, this is kind of where it differs. Those top 3 picks are pretty solid. I think it's going to go pretty chalk there. But 4 through the rest of the first round, it's up. We're going to find out, right? It's not guaranteed, of course. I will mention one player that is getting a lot of attention that is maybe moving up on draft boards, and that is Ashton Jeanty. He's a running back for Boise State, and I watched a lot of him because my alma mater is Utah State, and Utah State and Boise State are in the same conference in the Mountain West, and so, I don't know, I just happened to be watching a lot of Mountain West football, which most of the country was probably not watching, and Ashton Jeanty he's a beast. He would go for like 250 yards every single game that he would rush for. He'd score like 3 touchdowns. Of course, this is a slight exaggeration, but he is a beast. Teams should be looking at him. And I think the scales have kind of been shifting. This one mock draft, he goes number 10 to the Chicago Bears. This other mock draft, he goes even higher, pick number 4, if the Chicago Bears want to trade a pick and move up. And that's another thing you can do. You can trade picks and move up, but I digress. So keep an eye out for Ashton Jeanty. I know as a Denver Broncos fan, a lot of fans, especially on Twitter, Twitter, people just share their opinions. They really want Ashton Jeanty. They want to see if the Broncos can trade up to get him. The Broncos are probably going to look to be drafting a running back in this draft, as they've kind of moved on from their running back of committee that they've done the last couple of years. But if they don't trade up to get Ashton Jeanty, then according to this, they're projected to take TreVeyon Henderson, the running back out of Ohio State, at pick number 20. I really like TreVeyon Henderson. I'd be good with either, honestly. It's kind of hard to know exactly how a player is going to pan out in the NFL or pan out in the professionals. You can see people who have busted or people who were picked later on, but then turn out to be big time players. So you never quite know, but it should be interesting to see. One last thing to note before we move on is Shedeur Sanders, the son of Deion Sanders, quarterback for Colorado. A lot of hype around him. He played 2 seasons there at Colorado, of course, just got his jersey retired there. He's probably going to be the second quarterback picked in this draft. A lot of these mock drafts have him being taken at 21 by the Pittsburgh Steelers. Of course, the Steelers have just moved on from Russell Wilson. They still have Justin Fields. Maybe they roll with Justin Fields and see how he does and let Shedeur step in. But I honestly, and this is not a controversial opinion, this is not a unpopular opinion, I think this is a common opinion shared by a lot. I think Shedeur Sanders is overrated. I think he's a good quarterback, not an elite quarterback, not a great quarterback. I mean, he only went 13-12, won 13 games, lost 12 games at Colorado. That first season, they went 3-9, and he got his jersey retired because, Colorado arguably wants his dad, Deion Sanders, to stay. So, I mean, they'll do anything to keep him around. I think if I'm an NFL GM, if I'm looking at this draft board, I don't want to take Shedeur unless, I don't want to use my first round pick on Shedeur, is what I'm going to say. I think he's a good player. I think you can, grab him in the second, third, fourth round. But my first round pick, I don't know if I want to be using on Shedeur Sanders. Now, of course, that's easy for me to say because I'm not actually a GM. I don't have people breathing down my neck. I don't have a fan base that's, demanding excellence, right? So if there's a team that's really hurting at quarterback who is like, I really need a quarterback, but of course we're not going to take Cam Ward because he's the first, but maybe we like Shedeur Sanders over Jackson Dart or Jalen Milroe or whatnot, then maybe you'll be inclined to take him. But I don't know if any team should be eager to trade up for him or should be, I'm just saying you should be wary of Shedeur Sanders. Good player, maybe not a great player, but maybe you can snag someone else. I don't know, but that's the thing. Maybe another team grabs him. But it'll be interesting to see what ends up happening here in the NFL draft. Of course, as I mentioned before, it is happening tonight. The first round is tonight, and the second and third rounds will be tomorrow, and then the rest of the rounds will be on Saturday. So if you want to watch the NFL draft, I don't know. A lot of people like watching it. I personally haven't ever really watched it. I just kind of get on Twitter or get online and see replay video or get the notification, the first overall pick or whatever. But a lot of people really like it. A lot of hype around it. Again, it's being held in Green Bay, Wisconsin this year, home of the Packers, of course. It's kind of been bouncing from city to city in the last couple of years. And kind of fun. It's this 3-day event now. So turn on your TV and watch it if you want. If not, just follow along. Let me know down below which players you want your teams to draft, which players you think will be drafted overall. Any other thoughts, comments, and constructive feedback, let me know down below. And thank you guys so much for watching and listening to Fan Talk. Of course, it's a podcast by me, Kyle Brenchley. I just did 100 episodes a couple weeks ago, and we are going strong. I think we're coming up on 2.5 years here of the podcast. Once we hit the 3-year mark, we'll do something special, have a party or something. But thank you guys so much for listening and tuning in, and I will catch you guys next week for another edition of Fan Talk.